I wanted to help us understand our separateness today. By understanding who we are in these different circumstances that we have that are all around us. We play so many different roles, right? We shift costumes 100 times a day. From being, waking up in the morning and having this mad rush to get to work or to do all the things that are necessary right when we wake up, to being a caretaker, to being a mother, to being a daughter, to being a partner, to being an employee, an expert in things, a friend. And we jump into these different roles seamlessly, right? Without any awareness. It's whatever environment kind of speaks to us or requests of us in that moment, our consciousness goes right into it, which can serve us, right? I'm not saying these roles are bad. In fact, they help us a lot. They allow us to be efficient, adaptable. They can help us figure out what another person needs. They can help us figure out what we need in that moment. But it also speaks to the separateness within ourselves, right? These different identities, these different parts of ourselves are often isolated from one another. And in that way, they can be limiting, especially if we are unaware of changing into the roles and then just being that person for that one specific circumstance. And then when something else calls, switching gears and being another identity or person or being. Not that we have to think about our definition in each of those roles. Our definition is pretty narrowly defined, right? Who we are in that. And that's based on our past experiences in those roles, how we developed those roles. And because who we are is dependent on those past experiences, it comes with limiting beliefs about ourselves in those roles. And it's interesting to take a step back and say, okay, well, who am I as a mother, as a daughter, as a sick person, as a caretaker, right? And it's sometimes the role itself creates the situation where we're not really choosing, okay, well, how am I feeling in this moment as a caretaker or as a sick person or as a mother or as an employee? And I think that it's worth recognizing that we don't have to follow suit with whatever the role wants us to play. I think it can be helpful to take a step back and say, wait a second, who am I in this moment? Even though I'm mothering or partnering or being a friend or presenting something or talking to a doctor. Because when we're in the lens of each role, right, when I'm only seeing myself in each particular role, I'm not seeing who I fully am. I'm not seeing my wholeness. And that one can just be stressful and add to really unconscious stress in our day-to-day life, trying to keep up with all the expectations of each role we play, or what we think is expected of us in the next circumstance. But it can also lead to sickness overall, really unhealth, more tension in the body, more disintegration that we kind of talked about last week. It's hard to let go of who we are, right? Especially our status, I think. We have worked so hard to develop who we are with our friends, our loved ones, our coworkers, everything. And it's not easy by any means to just snap our fingers and say, oh, I'm going to let go of that. In Buddhist teachings, we talk often about giving up the self, having no self. not being attached to our ego, to any one identity. There's a story of a priest that walks into his church, and he's just so filled with love and devotion. He falls to his knees, starts beating his chest and crying, "I am nobody, I am nobody." Another clergyman sees him and gets overwhelmed with the same sensation, falls to his knees, starts crying, "I am nobody, I am nobody, I feel it." A janitor is walking by and gets struck by the same devotion, falls to his knees, beats his chest, cries, "I am nobody, I am nobody." And the priest looks at the clergyman and goes, look who thinks he's nobody. It's silly, but there is this part of ourselves, the one who takes care of planning, the one who communicates really effectively, the one who has her presentations down pat, right? Those are actually the type of limitations and constrictions that I'm talking about, that are much harder to let go of. Well, the weaknesses are actually pretty hard to let go of too, right? And I'm not suggesting to be a nobody all the time, because that's not really cohesive to our way of living or what we need to accomplish in this life. But I'm talking about starting the process of being more aware of what we believe we have to be in these different roles. So I want to do a little practice with you, okay? So if you will, close your eyes or soften your gaze. Begin to take a few deep breaths as you let go of the thoughts from this discussion and settle into your being. Taking a moment to connect with the breath, dropping your shoulders, relaxing your belly. Letting certain thoughts fall away just as they arise. And I'm going to begin to ask a question. And in your mind's eye, I want you to answer the question with either a word or a phrase. And there might be many that come to mind, but see if you can focus just on one. Who are you? Coming up with one word or phrase, allowing your body and mind to fill itself with that image and the feelings associated with that one word or phrase. Letting that image go, coming up with another. Who are you? Embodying who you are in this moment. Exhaling and letting go of that image or feeling. Who are you? And also, who are you? And also, who are you Even if you can't come up with a word or role or phrase, even just an image of who you are in a different situation or circumstance. Letting yourself fully inhabit that role, that being, that identity. Who are you? And also, who are you? Just taking another breath or two, coming back to this moment, letting go of those different identities that you tried on for a moment. And you can open up your eyes. Being present with each part of ourselves, especially when we're not in that particular circumstance, can be interesting. When we're in it, when we identify with it, we fully feel like ourselves in each of those roles, right? All of them, all of the different parts are who we are. Even though they might be very separate from one another. Is there a thread that ties them all together? Is there something that remains steady and whole and complete, even when you're in each different part? There are certain qualities, right, that we bring to these pieces that might remain the same. Certain qualities of who we are as a mother, daughter, friend, coworker, expert, victim, caretaker. I mean, the list goes on. And those do remain steady. What also is consistent is our awareness behind each different role. Our awareness of changing into the different roles based on whatever circumstance warrants it. It's the mastermind, seeing all the different roles play out. Awareness that we're going into a caretaker role, that we're going into the expert role, that we're going into the victim role of the mother role. So often we don't have that awareness, right? We just play it out. How would it be, when I talk about this process, how would it be to exist more in that awareness piece? Oh, I'm getting pulled as this mother role. We have a lot more choice than how we want to be in that role. We have a chance to be more present in that role instead of just what I should do or what I think I should or what others would expect me to do in that role. And in the moment, is it possible even sometimes to suspend being in that role? Giving ourselves space to not be blank. Even if I'm not feeling good, if in a moment, am I okay? Do I have to keep fulfilling that role? If I'm in the expert role, for a moment, do I have to not fulfill knowing what I'm talking about and just being open to what's here? Giving myself the space is so freeing. can be free to be everything. I can be free to be nothing. And experimenting with how that feels. To not be tied to my own limitations or expectations or in others. It's loosening our identification with that role and with that self-image, with our ego, really. Ram Dass explains it as opening up the windows in our home, allowing for some cross-ventilation. And I like that because it's like, oh, maybe I can even cross-ventilate the different identities. Can I, and be okay with that there isn't this one specific role that I have. And this is where we check our self-importance, right? We check our expertise on a subject. So again, not to say that we should be a nobody, not that we can aim to live in this state of open awareness where we don't fulfill a role, because that's really not viable. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for our lives, for our hopes, for our goals, for the necessary things that we have to do. We are not Buddhas. I mean, we are actually all Buddhas inside, but we are not devoting our entire life to this enlightenment, right? Sitting under a tree all day and night, meditating. That's not what our existence is right now. But allowing a little bit more freedom within ourselves helps create a lot more space within ourselves. Helps allow us to feel a little bit more calm and composed and not so overwhelmed with all the chaos and busyness that this life wants us to feel, that each role wants us to fulfill. As a therapist, this feels incredibly relevant or important, right? That I'm constantly struck with this feeling or need to know the solutions to somebody's pain, to ease their suffering. And the more I feel pressured to fulfill this role when I'm sitting with somebody, the farther away I am from serving them. The more I'm in my head, seeing how my words are being received, seeing their facial expressions to notice if I'm helping them, if they're feeling better, if I'm remembering all that I want to remember. The moment I stop and I forget who it was, but one of my teachers once said, sometimes I'll just get up and walk out of the room and then come right back and sit down. And I really throw off the person in front of me. But I have to get up and do something different so I can sit back and be fresh, so I can let go of that role that I had assumed for that moment and begin again. And so we can do that metaphorically, where we stop and let go of this expectation that we have for ourselves. Be present with whoever is in front of us, or be present with ourselves. And in that open and loving awareness that we have when we're present, that you guys often feel when you're meditating, that openness allows wisdom to flow through us, allows our intuition to be heard, allows answers and solutions and a different perspective to come into light. In this space, I can better hear the nuances of what the other person needs or what I need, which is often hidden. These nuances are often blocked by my own agenda of needing to be good enough or needing to be right or helpful. And I brought up a moment ago this idea of love, because love is really where separateness dissolves. When we are feeling love, that's all we're feeling, right? That's all we are consumed by. Our attention even to love fades, and everything is one, the object of our attention or of love and us. It fills our body. And so I think in a bridge to actually getting us to this awareness of not fulfilling a role is by experimenting with feeling some love first. Noticing what it is that we love. Noticing if we can fully embody it and then use that to remain in this open state of awareness. So just like the initial practice of being with who we are, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. And the question now is going to be, what do you love? And in those, when you answer that, see if you can really be with each thing that comes up. So again, take a moment to close your eyes or soften your gaze. Taking a few deep breaths as you let go of the thoughts regarding the discussion and inhabit your being in this moment. Dropping your shoulders, letting go of overt tension, and taking a moment to just be with the breath. When I ask this next question, allow yourself to narrow it down to one word or phrase at a time, one image even. Letting your whole mind and body be with that image. What do you love? What do you love? And also, what do you love? Letting your entire being feel the connection with that object or idea of what it is that you love. What do you love? Without thinking about the next thing, but just being open with each thing you love until the next question. What do you love? What do you love? What do you love? Even imagining yourself engaged in that one thing. What do you love? And also, what do you love? Taking a few moments, letting go of that last image on your mind, even though I know there's many more. And just take a moment to notice how your body feels. Noticing the way your body felt during the exercise. Noticing what's happening in your mind during the exercise or right after. Is it possible to notice if our perspectives change? If you have a different understanding of what matters in this moment. Taking a couple more deep breaths in and out. And when you're ready, opening up your eyes. Certainly, our ego or our identity does not change or doesn't go away, but the importance of it changes. Notice how your body and mind are feeling after experiencing what you love. And perhaps you can take a piece of this practice and any aspects of this talk with you as you journey on throughout your day. Namaste.